we're about to do some comparative analysis. Y'all get your comparative analysis gloves on, get your goggles out because this is some hardcore about to happen. We're about to compare these two statements here. I know this one's a little bit smaller. I'm not sure how to make it bigger. So there's a little bit of difference here, but I think at the end of the day, it's about indifference. So when he says, no matter what you hear of anyone, have no ears to hear it unless it is something lovely, for they only discussing a state, and they are keeping that being in a state. He says it literally advises don't listen. But here, he's saying, let me find the exact bit I want to talk about. It's not the hearing that matters, it's the admitting the truth of it that matters. Now, there's a little bit of, listen versus hearing. And this is from the lecture Sound Investments, the second quote that's under the removing unwanted section. At the end of the day, the point is indifference. So if you've imagined for someone, like, I'm glad that this lecture has the job example because I used the job example in the beginning, forgetting it was in this lecture. But if you've imagined for someone getting a job and they tell you, they call you or text you, whatever, saying they think and they want this job. They don't want a job. They want this one. They really want it. This is the job they want. This is the job you imagine them having. And, after you've imagined for them, they call you, text you, whatever. So you see them in person and they tell you, yeah, I had the interview, but it went shit. I don't know if I'm going to get it. Even if they tell you they didn't get the job, don't believe it. Neville goes on to clarify here, all things when they are admitted, not all things when they are heard, but if you give consent to it, if you accept it as true. So it's like you can take part in that conversation, but don't engage in it in consciousness. Don't believe that this is true. Sometimes you can revise what they say, and as I said, we're building towards revision, which is, to give you just the most bare bones reduced thing. That conversation that you have where they call you up and tell you, yeah, the interview went crap. You could literally just change it to, oh man, the interview went great. Like as you hang up the phone or as you walk on to wherever you're going, in your head, replay the conversation but change the dialogue. And I know other people do this because I've done it my whole life where you have a conversation with somebody and you fucking loop it. It just loops in your head. Well, in that moment, you're engaging and believing it. And you're hearing it until you believe it. Change the dialogue. Change what they said. Change it to what you'd prefer them, what they want, what you would prefer to hear. Change it and loop that instead of looping the shitty thing they told you. Neville said that he would just fucking ignore them. He would just ignore them and be like, bitch, that doesn't matter. I know what I already imagined for you, so whatever you're telling me right now literally doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the point is don't be moved by that. Don't think that whatever they're telling you or whatever you're experiencing, if you've imagined for yourself, somehow jeopardizes the end that you focused on, that end goal of having seen this person employed. Don't think as they fucked up an interview or even because someone called them and said they didn't get the job that means anything. I didn't save it, unfortunately, but I had seen a really cool, let me click over to the chat room as we wrap up. I had seen a really cool experience someone had where this was the job they wanted. This was their dream job. They got through to like the end interviews, and then they got the call that they didn't get the job. They were advised the call saying they didn't get the job. And then it was pretty soon, like it was less than 2 weeks later, they called him back and said they made a mistake. He actually got the job. And he got the job. Like he wrote the post after having the fucking job for a couple weeks. But I mean, these things are like, reality is so much like more malleable than anybody ever gave it credit to. But that's a really like short and easy example of revision combined with persistence, where it's like you remain faithful to the state even when the path to that end goal gets a little rocky and twisted and totally not what you expected, and it seems like you're not going to get what you want. Don't even believe that. Like, just don't even believe it. But when I started out today, I was talking about a friend of mine who I have been I have been deeply fucking sinning when it comes to seeing her in her desired state. Like, that has been my sin on her behalf, and she's been reflecting it. And instead of changing my mind and looping preferred conversations or going back to scenes I picked for her that of seeing her happy and having what she wants, I kept dwelling on stuff she was telling me. And so it's my job now, though, look, she already knows about the law, but it still is my job to go within, loop those things where she's already got what she wants. She already has the marriage and job she wants and health conditions she wants. It's my job to believe in that, to literally just say, yeah, look, whatever you told me last night, last week, last month, that none of that is true. None of that none of that is who you are. None of that is how I see you. I see you already having this massive success and being deeply happy because you've got everything you want. And that's our responsibility to ourselves and the seeming others in our world. So usually I give an exercise, but I basically gave the same exercise last week of imagining for someone else, though that was again a lot of the theme tonight. But so tonight, I think we'll just leave it at reflect on this new definition of sin you've been given.